So, what do you believe? What do you believe about yourself? Do you believe, as the universe believes about us? As the universe knows our true identity? What do you believe? So, a couple years ago, I was at the Unity Conference. And I walked in to this topic about vulnerability. And I'm like, why are we talking about vulnerability at a Unity Conference? And I was so excited because I never ever looked at the fact that I wasn't being vulnerable in my everyday life. It opened a door inside of me that I never even was consciously aware that was even closed. And that's what I like about Unity. Because we don't stay stagnated in a culture that does the same thing over and over and over again. We are evolving. And so we need to pay attention to our consciousness. Is our consciousness evolving? Because Unity is evolving. I walked away from Unity years ago because they weren't evolving. I felt the stagnation. But today, they are outside of the box. They are opening up to emotions and all the attributes of our being. Not just the mental and the physical, but getting down to the core of our emotions. Brene Brown, if you don't know who she is, she's all over TED Talks. She's written numerous books. So I was quick to order this book Wednesday, and I got it in, and I read it, and I thought, this is a beautiful talk. This is a talk about living your life wholeheartedly. Do you feel that you live your life with your whole heart? Don't know? Do you even know what living wholeheartedly even means? I didn't. I didn't until I got into her book and into what she's a researcher. She goes out and she researches vulnerability. She does all of these surveys. So this isn't just about her scientific research, but it is about being out with people and them answering these questions of why they are not living their life fully, why they are not living a wholehearted life. She talks about courage. She talks about connection. And courage is not about going out and being this hero out in the world. Courage is about looking in the darkness. Being okay with seeing the parts of you that aren't so shiny. Seeing the parts of you that have been repressed because you're so afraid to feel them that you might fall apart. So what would happen if you fell apart? That's courage. That's when we go within and feel what we need to feel, no matter what it is. It is in the weakness that we find the strength. Have you ever gone through something where you felt so weak and vulnerable and came out of it feeling so much stronger? We have to exercise that muscle. Our spiritual muscle is just like any other muscle we have. It has to be exercised. There has to be practice with it. She talks about going through a breakdown was what she thought she was having. Some people go through midlife crisis. There's many times I felt like I was having a breakdown, and I would run outside of myself to therapists, to whatever I could get my hands on to help me through it, or not to help me through it. to repress it just a little bit more, to where I became physically ill. But now she looks at her breakdown as a spiritual awakening. In the book, she has the word breakdown with a slash through it, and next to it, she has spiritual awakening. Every time she says spiritual awakening, this is what you see in her book. Because she wants you to understand that when we get to a place in our life where we're not living the life that we think we're supposed to be living, things start unraveling. You're going along, everything's fine, right? And all of a sudden, things aren't working anymore. Like, why isn't this working anymore? Why isn't this working anymore? We feel like we're losing control of our life. And that's just it. You are losing control. That's what we need to happen, is to lose control so that we can let go of all that is blocking us from our spiritual nature. And that isn't so pretty, and it isn't so comfortable. But if it is your desire, you will unravel and you will get through it with spiritual tools and practices. And that's why we're here right now today, to learn what we can do to help us through it. Shame is another thing she talks about. Do you know that every one of us is experiencing shame right now? Right now. We all have something in our lives that we feel shameful about. Is there anything that you are still blaming on somebody else? Because with shame, we start to blame. We put it outside of ourselves. So shame is another big topic in her book. So, I don't have my flicker. I thought I was kind of felt empty up there. So let's dive in. You ready? So first of all, I want to bring a Bible verse in. That is why, for Christ's sakes, I delight in weakness, in the insults, in hardships. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Did anybody know that Bible verse? No. Because everything we need for our spiritual evolution is in the Bible. From the beginning of the Bible, where we live in ignorance and warring minds, to the entrance of the Christ consciousness, and then to the examples that Christ gives us to live our life daily life. So it is for the weakness that I am strong. And that's 2 Corinthians 12:10. So she has these 10 guideposts. So we're going to go through these 10 guideposts that she has. The first one is cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think. Do you know when you are living your life according to what other people think or tell you that you are living in shame? Think about that. Because if you are not able to be your true, authentic self, that is creating shame within your physical being, in your mental being, your emotional being. Because you're living with a mask on. And I came up with this topic because Halloween's coming. And I want us to realize that we live behind these masks of not being authentic. And when I say authentic, that means warts and all. That means everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. No matter what you are feeling, it is okay. It doesn't always have to look pretty out here. Because if it's not feeling pretty in here, you are living behind a mask. Now, how do you become authentic? Well, say you feel this shame. Something's happened. She suggests that we always find someone in our life that we are able to talk to. Someone that does not judge. Someone that accepts us exactly where we are, as we are. And maybe it's a group. We share stuff here at Unity all the time. Because we're okay with the darkness, right? We're okay because we know that we are the light, no matter how dark we may be experiencing life. It's like those cracks that you see. The light comes through those cracks that we live our life through. You are here to live an experience of emotions. Do you think all the emotions that we have, that we experience, aren't part of our being as a human being? Do you believe we're supposed to run from them when we're having them? That we're this bad person because we're having them? Now, growing up in the faith that I grew up in, yes, I believe that. I believe that if I wasn't this good little girl, no matter how I felt on the inside, that was bad. Don't cry. Don't do anything. My dad told me when my mom died, I was 7 years old. Don't cry. Wow. No wonder I took the path I took. Not blaming nobody. Not blaming nobody. It was my path to take. And I learned a lot from it. But that's what happens when we don't get it outside of ourselves. And it manifests in illness and discord. So what other people think. We are all here as individuals, and we all perceive the world through different eyes. We see differently. Nobody can tell you how to live unless you allow them. It is your choice. Guidepost 2, cultivating self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism. Self-compassion. Do you talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend? I don't all the time. How many times have you maybe made this statement, oh, I'm so stupid. Boy, I'm an idiot. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I felt that when I first came here. I didn't feel worthy to come here and be what I'm doing today. I didn't feel enough. Especially when for a long time there might be 6 or 7 people here. I wanted to run out the door. Because I didn't feel like I was enough. I had no compassion for myself. It took time for me to develop that and talk to myself differently. I hear people all the time say, I'm so old. Guess what? I bet you feel old. Because you got to remember, and I say this every Sunday, what you're focusing on is expanding. You're creating more of it. Right? So we have to be very careful to pay attention that we're loving ourselves, that we're compassionate to ourselves, treating ourselves as we would our best friend. So check yourself. Check in with yourself and see how you're treating yourself. Perfectionism. There's a lot of times I feel like everything has to be perfect. And I do that here. I think everything has to be perfect. But the times that I let that go are the funnest times we have here. When we just let it flow. She says that if you are a perfectionist, you are definitely experiencing shame. Because you definitely do not think you are good enough. That you have to be perfect. And if I'm not perfect, I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy. So check in with yourself. Do you feel like everything has to be perfect? You should see me make my bed. I think in a past lifetime I must have been in the military. Because I'm in the one with their little wrinkle here. I got to get that wrinkle fixed. Lisa! So now I'm checking in with myself. It's okay if there's a wrinkle in the bed, Lisa. Because it takes away that serenity from me. Right? Right. So let's check in with ourselves. Cultivating a resilient spirit, letting go of numbing and powerlessness. So our spirit is so resilient. It is always bouncing back, always coming up front for us whenever we desire that. Because it is you. Are you afraid to hurt your spirit? You can't. It's impossible. So don't be afraid of your spirit. Don't be afraid to allow your spirit to be present with the darkness. It's okay. Your spirit doesn't need it to be a certain way. That's your human conditioning that thinks that it does. You're conditioned to think that way from the get-go. It's very resilient. Don't be afraid of it. And fear is what creates us from experiencing the weakness and the darkness. It's okay. So how many of us numb ourselves? I did for most of my life. I did not want to feel the pain. I thought it was bad to feel the pain. I thought it was bad. The behavior is not good. But I am not bad. I am valued. I am worthy. I am enough. Now my behavior doesn't show that. But my worth, my value is always who I am. Always. And this is where we make our choices again. To choose again. Instead of reaching for alcohol, instead of reaching for drugs, instead of charging up the charge card. It's okay to feel whatever you need to feel. And I know fear stops us because we're so afraid of what might happen if we feel it. But your spirit is there. You are that. You're going to be okay. You're even going to be better because you're going to let it go. You're going to let it go. Powerlessness. We here at Unity know that one of our 12 powers is the power of power. You are power. That is an ability that you have. So just remember that when you're in the midst of allowing your ego and your humanness to want to take over. Check in. Check in. Number 4, cultivating gratitude and joy. Cultivating gratitude. She says that you cannot have joy without gratitude. It is in the gratitude that you experience the joy. She talks about happiness and joy are very different from each other. Happiness is about what's going on externally, if you're happy with it or not. But joy is an inward spiritual emotion that you have. It is down deep. Like when we were singing just now, that was joy. And I bet you were grateful for that energy in the song. The gratitude came first. So it is so important to practice gratitude every single day. Even if you feel lack and fear. When you open your eyes in the morning, start being grateful. For the littlest things. We say this all the time. I did a gratitude journal for years and years. I don't need that reminder today because I wake up with a heart of gratitude. And in it comes the joy. It goes hand in hand. And joy is who you are. You are that joy. So if you're not in gratitude, you're probably feeling lack, right? You're probably feeling fear. When I do my denials and affirmations, I release lack and fear, and then I affirm my abundance, my prosperity. So we release that in our denials and affirmations. Cultivating intuition and trusting faith, letting go of the need for certainty. How many times do you think something has to be just right? I have to be certain about this before I make a decision. Everything has to be lined up just right. There comes that professionalism again, right? And if we don't have the certainty, there comes in the shame. So do you see where the shame is coming into all of these guideposts that she recommends? So intuition is our guiding force within. It's the little nudges and the little things that we feel that happen when we need to maybe make a decision. We need to be guided. It's always part of who we are. But she also talks about there's sometimes your intuition is not telling you, giving you answers maybe. That means to stop, slow down. Because we're always in this fast pace, right? Slow down. It's not time to make that decision right now. You intuitively will know and you will intuitively be guided when it is time to make that step. So sometimes we have to stop and slow down and wait to be intuitively guided. And faith. Faith is just that faith of not seeing it, but knowing it. And most of us, we have that faith here at Unity. We all know. Cultivating creativity, letting go of comparison. We are all able to create. We all have creativity. It is part of your being. You are born with it. You will always have it. If you are not creating from what you think you would like to see in your life, you can change that. What happens is we start comparing our creativity with someone else's. Well, she can draw, I can't. She can public speak, I can't. Because that is not yours to create. You have your own creativity abilities, right? So if you're not creating, it is only because you are choosing not to create. Again, it is a choice. And it can be a feeling of shame because everyone else is creating, but I can't create. So you shame yourself. So there again, you feel that shame. And it's also a way that vulnerability. That's a really hard word for me to say. We're so fearful of being out here with what we have to share that someone's going to judge it and think that it's not good enough, right? And that's what really stops most of us. It's about you being okay with it. Cultivating play and rest. Letting go of exhaustion has a status symbol and productivity has self-worth. How many people in the world live in this exhausted, fast-paced state of having to be this person that does so much and makes all this money and the status quo, and that's how they obtain their self-worth. Is that how we obtain our self-worth? No, it has nothing to do with it. We're living backwards. It's in the self-worth that we obtain first that we are able to be productive and be creative, right? We're living backwards. We're doing it backwards. We've got to flip that around and obtain the self-worth first. Then everything comes after that. The universe opens up wide. And you have a whole playground here. So play and rest. The reason why most people don't play and rest is because they're too busy out there trying to find their self-worth. Trying to be productive. And play means literally playing. Not sitting on the video and doing, it is actually playing, bringing this joy that you are. And rest. In doing these things, we create a place within us that is whole and healthy and vibrant. And we have the energy to share that with not only ourselves, but with others. Cultivating calm and stillness. Letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle. How many of you feel anxiety in your life every day? It's okay to be honest and vulnerable. Yeah? Yeah. I felt so much anxiety here for the first year or so. I was sick. I got really sick, because I wasn't taking the time to be still. And stillness and calm are two different things. Calm is when you're just able to be calm with whatever's going on out here. Have you been around people when there's like all this chaos going on, and there'll be this one lady in the crowd and she'll just be so calm and relaxed, and you're like, what's her problem? A lot of people don't like it when you start feeling your stuff. And a lot of people don't understand, they don't want to be around you when you start being vulnerable and authentic. Why? Because they can't be. Because they're not doing it. They're actually probably jealous of you that you're able to do it. So they're going to blame you, shame you, and do that judgmental game, right? Mm-hmm. But do you understand when you open the door to be that with other people, you actually give them permission to do the same? You actually give them permission to do the same. It's a beautiful evolution, beautiful. And the stillness, going within. Going within. Does it have to be meditation? Because most people won't even experience the stillness because the word meditation scares them to death. I'm not going to do it right. I'm not going to sit right. I'm not going to feel right. Doesn't matter how you do it. There is no how-to list. It's all about you and how you feel and what you desire to experience by your choice. Period. Exclamation mark. Cultivating meaningful work, letting go of self-doubt and supposed to. How many times have you done something because I'm supposed to do this? And how did you feel afterwards if you didn't really want to do it, but you're supposed to? How did you feel after you did it?
Terrible.
Terrible, resentful. Yeah. And that's how we feel when we're not being authentic and vulnerable to just feel whatever we need to feel. Meaningful work. How many times do we take jobs that we're miserable? We go to work every day. There's no meaning, there's no purpose, there's no direction. We're just a robot. Doing what everybody I'm supposed to do. We're on autopilot. You're not living. Wholehearted living. Your heart should be so expansive when you're doing meaningful work. You'll think, why did I ever not do this? Because you're right where you're supposed to be. And as you evolve, you will understand that it is necessary to cultivate meaning work. Yes. No supposed to's. Cultivating laughter, song, and dance. Look at this morning. How did you feel? What's the saying? Dance as if no one's watching. Have you ever gone in your car and just, I do it all the time. I can see people are looking at me because I'm singing. I'm thinking, I hope they're reading my bumper sticker. Because they're going to think, where in the world is she getting that? Maybe they'll show up here. Because and we have 3 bumper stickers out there. That say peace, it begins with me. Because I am peaceful. And I love music. I love song. And I am vulnerable enough that I don't care who's watching me. I'm going to sing. And I don't care how it sounds. Because it is this joy that I feel that I'm expressing. Dancing. I went to this wedding with my nieces. I was sharing with someone this morning about how no one was sitting at the tables. They were all on the dance floor. My mom let loose. She was doing jumping jacks. Of course, she's got bandages around her knees right now. But I've never seen her behave that way. We said, "Are you drinking?" "I haven't had a drop." "Well, who are you?" It was beautiful. I saw a side of her. She was so vulnerable, and it was so beautiful. When we're vulnerable, we're beautiful. We're beautiful. And other people feel it. And just maybe they might open to their vulnerability. Yes. So laugh, sing, dance. I love this. Letting go of being cool. The fawns, you know? Hey, yeah, hey. You know. Did we ever see Fonz dance or cut loose on that show? No, he had his leather jacket stiff as he could be. Right? I'm cool. I'm cool. I don't want to be cool. I don't want to be normal. My parents said to me this week, "You're not normal at all, are you?" And I said, "Thank goodness." And they laughed. They laughed. Because within them is that same energy. It's that same energy. And we invite them into it. We invite them into it. What more of a beautiful experience could you possibly have? But once we have compassion and love for ourselves, and once we know that we are okay just the way we are, darkness and all. She uses this saying about the stained glass light, the stained glass windows that you see, the sun shining brightly through and looks beautiful. But at night, you see the stained glass beauty when there's a light within. Coming out. That's how we are. We're just like that stained glass window. So I love this here. Yes. Let's say this together. I invite you to. Yes, I am imperfect and vulnerable, and sometimes afraid. But that doesn't change the truth that I am also brave and worthy of love and belonging. You belong. We are connected. We are courage. We are compassion. And I invite you to check in with yourself this week and see what's going on, what you're not showing others. Just pay attention. So let's go into our meditation. Let's sit with our feet on the floor, get ourselves rooted into Mother Earth here. I invite you to envision the roots of your feet and the tailbone coming out and hugging Mother Earth to the core, the crystal core. Let's take some deep, deep cleansing breaths, breathing in, filling the lungs and the abdomen, back circle that back up, and let go. Let it out. Let it go. Do that 3 times, and we'll go into this beautiful meditation.